Hello and welcome to this NewsMobile special. I have someone who was instrumental in actually improving India-Australia ties, former Prime Minister of Australia, Tony Abbott. Tony, welcome to NewsMobile.
Lovely to be here.
You were instrumental in actually transforming this relationship. Why India and Australia need to cooperate, according to you?
Look, we are very similar countries in many respects. We share many elements of history. We share a passion for sport and literature. Above all else, though, we are democracies committed to the rule of law, and particularly in this part of the world, democracies committed to the rule of law need to stick together. Now, I was very keen to revitalise the India-Australia relationship, which had been in the doldrums a bit. Certainly it has been historically underdeveloped, and now that I'm an ex-Prime Minister and I don't have to turn up to Parliament for most of the year, I've got more time and more possibilities to build this relationship, so let's go for it.
You know, I've been following you on Twitter, and also you've been saying, you called out China as a bully in some ways. You know, I know what's happening South China Sea, and India and Australia, I think, have a convergence of interest here. What is your fundamental opposition to that kind of approach?
Well, I believe that you've got to have a live and let live approach, and certainly India has taken quite a forbearing attitude to its neighbours, even difficult neighbours. Australia is a country which historically has always been there to help in good times and in bad, and the democracies that believe in humane and decent treatment of their own citizens are always going to be easier global citizens than countries that have a different approach to their own people.
India and Australia are now part of Quad, and they're cooperating very closely.
Yes.
Where do you see a future there? Do you see that we should elevate it to the level of the Prime Ministers now? And also,
look, I can understand why there might be some anxiety about looking too assertive, but I do think that this Quad has the potential to be a very significant force for good in our region. You know, the most effective alliance in the modern world has been the Five Eyes Partnership, and the Five Eyes Partnership has never been written down, it's never been formalised, but because it is a very strong network of like-minded people, it has been extremely effective, and I think that the Quad has the potential to develop along similar lines.
terrorism is something where both Australia and India's interests converge in fighting on combating terrorism. Where do you see this relationship in ensuring that we actually try to eliminate the scourge of global terrorism?
Well, terrorism is almost impossible to eliminate, but it's got to be fought in a very uncompromising way. Plainly, countries which harbour terrorism have got to be dealt with. Plainly, ungoverned spaces where terrorism flourishes need to be brought in some way under control. And let's make sure at the present time that the progress that has been fitfully and haltingly made in Afghanistan is not unravelled.
Absolutely. You, with Prime Minister Modi, really elevated this relationship.
Yeah.
Where do you see the role of India in the global scenario under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi?
Well, that's a very good question, and I believe that India is the world's emerging democratic superpower. I think that Prime Minister Modi has taken a much more active global role for India, and you know, the world needs two democratic superpowers. One is not enough, and so all strength to India, and may Australia do everything we can to help India rise.
I still feel there are a lot of things which are in common, but we need to develop our relationship to the next level. What are the areas where you think India and Australia can actually go out and collaborate even more?
The most obvious step forward would be to conclude the trade deal. Now, Prime Minister Modi and I committed to get it done within 12 months back in late 2014. Regrettably, it went off the boil sometime in 2015. Let's hope that the coming meeting between Modi and Prime Minister Morrison can get it back on track and get it done within the next 12 months.
Right. Just a last question. I know you were somebody who really valued Indian Australians, their contribution there. Where do you see that going forward? How important is their partnership in taking this relationship to the next level?
We have almost 1 million Australians of Indian background. They're wonderful Australians. They're making a superb contribution. They really are big contributors to our country. And the point I make is that if the 1.3 billion Indians in India could do as well as the 1 million Indians in Australia, India will amaze the world.
Right. Prime Minister, thank you so much and enjoy your trip to India.
Thank you.
That was Prime Minister, former Prime Minister of Australia, Tony Abbott, in a special interview with NewsMobile. Thanks for watching.